The season ahead. Have made much more of a better start after they beat one of the favourites for promotion along with themselves, Leyton Orient, here 3-0 on the opening day of the season, before they then back that up with a 2-0 victory down at Reading on Saturday. Martí Cifuentes new in at Leicester after leaving Queen's Park Rangers in the summer to replace Ruud van Nistelrooy, whose brief reign in charge of Leicester last season yielded so few points and barely any moments to remember. His job to lift Leicester City back to the Premier League. So welcome to Aku Stadium on a beautiful evening in Yorkshire as League One Huddersfield Town take on Championship Leicester City. David Phillips alongside me this evening, and David, it has the look of a very interesting cup tie between two teams that have both made winning starts to their league seasons.
Yes, absolutely right, and you're right in what you're saying in respect of both of the sides. When you look at their pre-season though, you turn around and say their pre-season was half decent. They just had the one loss against Cologne, but you have to say that the victory against Sheffield Wednesday wasn't the greatest of performances, especially in the first 45 minutes. Yes, it transferred into 3 points in the second half. Harry Winks coming on at half-time, I thought, brought a little bit more intensity, but Barry Bannon getting sent off as well did help the cause.
Well, it was a terrible season last year in the Premier League for Leicester, and they got off to a winning start, as David said, at the weekend. But they were booed off at half-time by some sections of the Leicester crowd. But just how important was it for Martí Cifuentes to get that victory in his first game in charge and try and get that winning feeling back at a club which had such struggles last season?
Well, the one thing I found out, because I've got a couple of friends who are Leicester City supporters who went to the game, 10 minutes before the game, Martí Cifuentes actually went around the whole stadium applauding all the fans. And yes, they reacted really well, but we know there's still a lot of backroom issues at Leicester City. We know that there are vultures out there, potentially if we're looking at El Canoes, James Justin, and obviously when you look at the Jeremy Monga as well, Will Alves making, first starts for their careers, they will be players that other clubs will be looking at. So really, they want to try and get rid of this transfer system sorted out by September and not losing influential players if they want to make headway back into the Premier League for next year.
League One meets the Championship in the first round of the Carabao Cup as Huddersfield Town hosts Leicester City in a clash between two sides that have 100% starts to their league seasons. Huddersfield hotly tipped to be right in the mix for promotion this season, having picked up those 2 wins under new manager Lee Grant. But how will they fare tonight against the Leicester City side, who made a sticky start at home to Sheffield Wednesday in their season opener before coming on strong in the second half to win 2-1. Martí Cifuentes has made plenty of changes to his side tonight, an opportunity for some of those who didn't see action on Sunday to impress their new head coach this evening with a place in the second round and a trip to Sunderland, the prize for the two teams. Let's take a look at the lineups tonight. Lee Grant makes 9 changes to the Huddersfield side that scored twice in the final 16 minutes on Saturday to win at Reading 2-0. The only players that remain from that side are Ben Wiles and Ruben Ruskin. Lee Nichols starts in goal, whilst Josh Feeney makes his first start for the club. There's also a first start for Murray Wallace after he rejoined the club from Millwall in the summer. Dion Charles leads the line and also makes his first start of the season. Their opener against Sheffield Wednesday on Sunday. Jakub Stalazic, Luke Thomas, Oliver Skipp and Boubakary Soumaré are the 4 players who stay in the team. The big news, a first professional start for the much-hyped 16-year-old Jeremy Monga, who came off the bench against Sheffield Wednesday at the weekend. Wout Vass, who scored Sunday's winner, is also in from the off. So two men new in their jobs and both primed with the responsibility this season to lead their club to a higher level. Ben Wiles, the captain for Huddersfield tonight, David, and another player that has impressed you with his start to the season.
I've been very impressed with him. Generally starts as a number 10, but his movement, getting into advanced positions, is exceptional. Not only is he decent on his right foot, but also on his left. Created a couple of decent opportunities, got the penalty as well, which enabled a first goal for Alfie May. But I like him, the way that he goes about his business. He's got a lot of pace as well, and I'm sure he will be influential for this evening's game.
A big night for a young man who we've heard plenty about. We've seen glimpses of as well. Jeremy Monga, just 16 years of age, and a first start in a competitive game for Leicester City tonight. It's going to be fascinating to see how he performs here, but the future, it seems, is going to be very bright indeed for that young man. Oh,
absolutely. Only 16 years of age, as you're right to say, primarily left-footed, but the way that he manipulates the ball, he's got no fear whatsoever about taking on defenders. I tell you, he is a gifted player.
And he will sign professionally once he turns 17 with Leicester. Scholarship deals agreed with him to keep him at the club. So much attention on him. There'll be plenty of interested eyes on him this evening. David Webb, as you saw, our man in charge here at the Yaku Stadium this evening. So Huddersfield leading the way in the early League One standings. 6 points from 6, 5 goals scored, and yet to concede. A dream start in his first managerial role for Lee Grant. But he knows it's a step up in calibre for them tonight as they take on a Leicester City side who retained much of the squad which played in the Premier League last season. A confident Huddersfield, a much changed Leicester, as it is too as well for Huddersfield. It is a tough tie to call here tonight, David.
Yeah, very difficult. We see Lee Grant there. Had 3 years, as you're right to say, under Kieran McKenna at Ipswich Town. Not doing the goalkeepers, but he was looking after the forwards. So he knows all about that. He knows all about the movement. And that is why you see Huddersfield scoring 5 goals in their first 2 games.
Looking to make a quick start here, and Ben Nelson called into action. Another player who's come through at Leicester, and another player who has a huge future ahead of him. Heard him described as a future England defender. And Leicester City supporters. Loan spell last year at Oxford and picked up a few injuries in that time, but his team have a bit of defending here to do as Huddersfield have themselves a corner so early in the evening, a corner which will be taken by Lyndon Gooch. Delivery of depth, and it's one which is punched away by Jakub Stolazic. Stolazic now the #1 at Leicester after they sold Mads Hermansen to West Ham just before their championship season got underway. Stolazic, who played in the Premier League last season and put in some good performances as well. Martí Cifuentes, though, he knows there's pressure on him. He has to get Leicester City promoted, doesn't he, David?
Yes, he does. As I said, there's still a lot of backroom issues at Leicester City Football Club, and I do feel sorry for their supporters. But yes, that's what he'll be told by, I would say, in the boardroom and obviously the technical director. And that is really what they want to be looking at. But it's whether or not they can still have some of these players in September. The sooner this transfer window goes and everyone stays, will be better for them. As I said, there are vultures around at this present time. Newcastle, Leeds United looking at Canoes. James Justin as well is another one potentially. But if you want to get yourself back into the Premier League, you have to have your better players here on the pitch.
You take a look at the Leicester City squad and you look at their options tonight off the bench. As we mentioned, 7 changes made from the weekend, and well, they have got one of the best squads right now, haven't they, in the Championship. It's just a case of who will still be at the club when the window closes. Turnover of possession. It's been a bright start this from Lee Grant's team. They should come into this confident as well, given the start to the season that they've made. And huge opportunity tonight for so many players to get themselves into the manager's thoughts. Coming forwards again here now, all eyes on the referee, David Webb, who immediately waved that away. Here's Patson Daka. Take another look at that call for a penalty in a moment as Leicester look to break forwards here. Here's Daka. He hangs one up to the back post. He was seeking Casey McAteer, but he just flighted it beyond him. Hamza Chowdhury wearing the captain's armband for Leicester City tonight. As you can hear, good travelling support for the Foxes as well, roaring their side on. There's Wout Vass, who cupped his ear when he scored the winning goal on Sunday. He's come under criticism at times in his Leicester career. Given away by Chowdhury, and now a chance here with Stolajic a little way off his line. Fast start to this game, David.
Absolutely. I think it was Ben Wiles who had that opportunity. Saw that Stolajic was off his line. But you're right in what you're saying. It's only, coming up to 4 minutes old, and an electric game so far from both sides. But it'll be interesting to see what happens when we have a look at the replay. I thought the referee, David Webber, was in an excellent position.
Here's Luke Thomas. He didn't see too much football last season, Luke Thomas. Such a bright start to his career. He was with Leicester when they won the FA Cup back in 2021, beating Chelsea. Nelson again. Into Wout Vass, who's crucial for Leicester in the way that they build up play. We saw that on Sunday against Sheffield Wednesday, and it was something that Martí Cifuentes mentioned ahead of this game here this evening. Says he's really happy with what he's seen from Vass in training, said he couldn't be training any better. And of course, he was on the bench when he named his first starting lineup on Sunday.
Yeah, but you also got to take into account that things changed when the substitutions were made as well. Here we see it's a great ball into the box. That's a penalty. That is a penalty from Ben Nelson. You can see there with Ruskin that he just brings that ball back onto his right-hand side. That's a penalty all day.
Clear contact made there by Ben Nelson. Leicester perhaps getting away with one then in the opening moments of this game as Ruben Ruskin went down. He's looked bright in the opening minutes. Lee Nichols in goal for Huddersfield this evening. Owen Goodman has been starting their league games. Owen Goodman, who had a fantastic season on loan at Wimbledon last year, winning promotion via the League Two playoffs. Nichols saying, of course, that he is frustrated that he's not starting those league games, but he's thoroughly commended what he's seen from Owen Goodman, who has a very bright future ahead of him. There's no doubt about that. Lee Nichols saying just how together this squad is in their ambition to win promotion. First ever League Cup meeting between these two teams. And the first cup meeting since the 2012-13 season. They last played in the league in 2024. New Year's Day 2024, a 4-1 win for Leicester City. A chance to try and get around the outside there for Will Alves. Yet another off the production line at Leicester City.
And that's the one thing that I will say, Andy, is that at Leicester City, and I've played against their academy on so many occasions, they've always had a very, very good academy.
Martí Cifuentes has a depth of talent that he can lean upon, and much of it is young, as David referenced. Their academy system is flourishing. And he gives Will Alves a go tonight in, it appears, the number 10 role, where he said he feels that he perhaps is at his best. And a chance here for Monga. Jeremy Monga sees his effort blocked. Now Hamza Chowdhury. Thomas. Monga again, looking bright, looking to try and make things happen. Thomas looks to cross first time, gets underneath it a touch. Chowdhury. Sumare, one of the 4 players to stay in the lineup from the game against Sheffield Wednesday 4 days ago. Nelson, good with the ball at his feet. Leicester starting to settle into the game after Huddersfield came out swinging in the early minutes. So we saw some shocks in the competition last night. Doncaster with an incredible 4-0 win at the Riverside to beat Championship Middlesbrough. Bromley knocking out Ipswich on penalties. Here's Monga again for Leicester. Daka in the middle. The cross, though, goes straight to Lee Nichols.
Yeah, you'll be disappointed with that one, Jeremy Monga. We know that he's a lot better than that. Gets himself towards the byline. Instead of pulling that ball back, just inadvertently, just really scuffs it back in towards the goalkeeper. So it's a very bright opening to this game, isn't it, from both sides? Huddersfield will be feeling a little bit harshly done by. Thought that was a penalty. I'm sure that Lee Grant will have something to say about that.
Wallace working it across the back line. Wallace, who came back to the club from Millwall in the summer. First appearance of the season for him. And you have to say, talking about the strength in depth that Leicester have for the level in which they play, it also appears as if Huddersfield very well stocked for their push to try and win promotion back to the Championship. 10th place finish last year, not good enough, but they look much better suited perhaps this time around. Oh, they do.
They're just zipping that ball around from left to right. They're being very patient. Obviously, the style of play with Lee Grant under the guidance of Kieran McKenna has had a huge impact on his career. And you can see they're very easy on the eye at Huddersfield, but you have to say with Leicester as well, with the amount of changes that they've made, they've started off very brightly as well.
It's always the balance, isn't it, these early rounds of cup competition, particularly for teams that are chasing a promotion. How much emphasis do they put on these games? Both managers taking the opportunity to just take a little look at perhaps some more of their squad players here this evening, or those that haven't had too many minutes so far. Just a reminder that a trip to Wearside to take on Sunderland at the Stadium of Light, the prize for these two teams this evening. The draw made just before we got underway here this evening. Monga's gone down. Nothing coming from the referee, but Jeremy Monga asking the question of David Webb.
Yeah, he's had a good career as well, hasn't he? Lyndon Gooch, the right back. Spent quite a few years at Sunderland. Asked to come and do a job here once again against a youngster, 16 years of age. And I think Jeremy Monga will cause problems for him, but also Monga's going to have to understand at times, off possession or out of possession, he's going to have to trail him as well.
Luke Thomas being urged on by Martí Cifuentes as he progresses down the pitch, but unable to link up with Patson Daka.
But what I like there about Huddersfield Town, they lost possession and quickly got 7 players behind the ball. We know the last ball from Luke Thomas was not particularly good, but the amount of blue and white shirts inside of that 18-yard box was quite impressive. And I'm sure that's something that Grant has said to his players, out of possession, we need to get behind the ball.
There's Monga, who finds himself under pressure, but he just eases himself through that challenge so silkily, doesn't he? Now Thomas, who's looking to get into those advanced areas, can't quite pick anybody out this time. Now Wiles, Chowdhury harassing, looking to win possession back. Samari played it to Skip under pressure. Monga once again, and you can see how advanced once again Luke Thomas is in a more central position. We see that from fullbacks quite often, of course, don't we, David, in the modern game? The use of fullbacks, they don't just hug the touchline anymore.
No, gone are those days, and you'll invariably see left backs, right backs popping up all over the park, and certainly when you have we just see what happens with Monga here.
Ghosts his way past one challenge, and the referee is going to pull this one up for simulation against Jeremy Monga. Little hesitation from the referee. You can see the yellow card already out of the pocket of David Webb. Let's take another look here.
But again, you can see the way that he's just manipulating that ball, and eventually goes down. It's far too easy for a decision for the referee to give him the yellow card. No contact whatsoever from Gooch. But he's going to have to be very careful, Gooch, at times about how tight does he go to Jeremy Monga. We saw just moments ago he got himself tight, he got rolled very easily. And with Monga, he can go left, he can go right, and he is a tricky character to play against.
And that's the side to his game that we don't want to see, but we've seen the other side already on a few occasions this evening. Really good with the ball at his feet, but a yellow card for Jeremy Monga on his first competitive start for Leicester City. Ball threaded down the line, but well, Wout Vass was there for Leicester, but he has his pocket picked and perhaps out of frustration gives away the free kick.
Yeah, again, it's not the greatest of first touches, was it? As you can see, that he just makes close contact with Dion Charles, but scored the winning goal against Sheffield Wednesday with set piece. But it's a free header, and I'm sure that Sheffield Wednesday were not particularly happy about that. And I say the reaction towards the crowd as well didn't do him any favours either.
He's had some tricky times, I think it's fair to say, Wout Vass in his Leicester career. Martí Cifuentes saying he won't judge him on what happened previously. He's only interested now in what happens in his time in charge of the club. Belgian international, of course, Wout Vass. That goal coming just in the nick of time for Leicester as well at the weekend. Just 3 minutes left to play. Really struggled to see off Sheffield Wednesday, didn't they? Fell behind in the first half. Of course, the Sheffield Wednesday side who have had so much to contend with. You could really see the togetherness of that Wednesday side, couldn't you, at the weekend?
You could, but when you look at the stats of the shots on target, shots off target, there was an awful lot.
Huddersfield looking to make their mark here. Slip inside the penalty area. And Luke Thomas quickest onto the loose ball as a little bit of grappling goes on.
But the one thing I will say about that game at the weekend against Sheffield Wednesday, I really applaud the Leicester City fans for what they did. As soon as the Sheffield Wednesday fans came back out onto the terrace, it was all around three stations, everyone was just standing up and applauding them. So a lot of clubs are right behind the players, especially of Sheffield Wednesday, and also the fans as well, because it involves them mostly.
A terrible situation, what's going on with Sheffield Wednesday at the moment. Hooked away by Nelson. Just about kept in play by Ruskin. Nelson taking the safe option to just work it back to his goalkeeper, Stolazic. Played 11 times for Leicester in the Premier League last season, Jakub Stolazic. Now here's Kusumu, weaving his way into the penalty area. He goes down. And again, the referee, David Webb, not interested. There seemed to be a slippy surface. We've seen a fair few players lose their footing so far in the opening 17 minutes of this game. Ball flicked out to find Ruskin. Not too much to aim at in the middle, and his ball beats everyone. It goes out over on the far side. Huddersfield perhaps need to try and commit some more numbers there as we see this claim for a penalty. Again, it's Nelson involved.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on that one. But he's got to be very careful, hasn't he, Ben Nelson? And if that was me and I'm Lee Grant, I'm saying to my players, if you're isolated 1v1 against Ben Nelson, go and have a go at him. Yes, we know he's only 21, he's still learning his trade. He is a tall unit, 6'5". Yeah, had a good little spell at Oxford last season. And good opportunity here. We know that Vestergaard will potentially be the #1 centre-half. It's now who's going to play alongside him. Okoli is rested for today. Vestergaard is not in the squad, but they've got 4 decent centre-halves, haven't they, Leicester City, if you include Ben Nelson as well. And I'm sure he'll learn a lot from the likes of Wout Vass, very experienced, as you're right to say, Belgium international.
Plenty of options for Martí Cifuentes. Ben Nelson, who made 17 appearances on loan at Oxford last season. The season before that, 9 appearances for Leicester, his first appearances for the club. Thomas sees the run of Daka. It was a difficult ball for him to try and pull off, and it's found its way back to Lee Nichols.
That's the one thing I have to say about Leicester City, is that who's going to be scoring all the goals? And that, for me, might be the concern for this season. When you look at, obviously, Jamie Vardy moving on, well, he hasn't moved on anyway yet, has he? To lose the likes of him, his goal-scoring prowess. And then you've got Patson Daka, what, 1 goal last year? Jordan Ayew doesn't score a lot of goals. And when you look at those two in particular, Patson Daka is a 1 in 5 striker. Jordan Ayew, especially the times at Crystal Palace, was a 1 in 8 striker. You know, and that doesn't bode particularly well, does it? You know, they've got to be scoring goals to win games.
Jamie Vardy saying goodbye to Leicester at the end of last season after reaching 200 goals for the club. Leicester searching for a man to fill that void. They've been lucky, haven't they, really? They haven't had to find a 20-goal-a-season striker for over a decade. They always had someone who could put the ball in the back of the net by way of Jamie Vardy. Jordan Ayew led the line at the weekend, wearing the number 9 shirt as well. Rather brave call, I felt that, from Jordan Ayew to take the number 9 so soon after Jamie Vardy had left.
But when you look at the stats from last year, 33 goals is all they scored in the Premier League. And that is obviously something that they have to look at, especially for this year in the Championship. And concessions last year, far too many, 80 in total. But the Championship is a little bit different. It's not as hard as, I'll say not hard, it's one of the hardest leagues to get out of. But you need to score goals, and you need to keep clean sheets, like Burnley did last year. How many clean sheets did they have? Over half of their games were clean sheets.
30 clean sheets for Burnley last season. Remarkable from Scott Parker's side. Of course, Leicester, last time they were in the Championship, the title winners under Enzo Maresca. Last year, it just really didn't work out for them, did it? Enzo Maresca, of course, went to Chelsea. Steve Cooper came to the club. He was replaced by Ruud van Nistelrooy. Second half of the season, one which couldn't really end quick enough for followers of the Foxes. Here's Daka. Now Soumare. In fact, it's Thomas now on to Soumare. Monga. Doubled up on here. Huddersfield more than aware of the threat that he possesses, and they managed to win the ball back.
Well, it was good work from Ashir, wasn't it? Again, only a youngster. Scored an excellent goal against Reading, didn't he, at the weekend? So composed the strike, nice good side footer, which gave him all 3 points. I know they were 1-0 up at the time, but, you know, just the way that he put that ball into the back of the net was like somebody who's very, very experienced. Great strike.
Great victory that for Huddersfield at the weekend, down at Reading by 2-0. Both goals coming inside the final 16 minutes. Really does seem to be a feel-good factor around the club this season, and a real belief that they can return to the Championship. Thomas preparing the long throw here, and it comes. Vass looks to get the first contact, and that contact came from a Huddersfield head, so Leicester will have a corner here.
Yeah, and they're going to have to be mindful about the set plays as well, because when you have somebody like Wout Vass as well, very experienced, scored with a free header at the weekend. You've got Ben Nelson, 6'5", who's going to be in and around him as well. Casey McAteer, somebody that we've not spoken about so far. Again, he's got good height.
First Leicester corner of the night, taken by Thomas, flicked away to clear the penalty here. Of course, both of Leicester's goals against Sheffield Wednesday came from set pieces. Bit of controversy over the first one. Was Harry Winks offside? It was a very, very close call. Oliver Skipp steals in for Leicester. It's the first of 3 successive away games for Leicester City. The next 2 in the Championship, up at Deepdale and then down at the Valley to take on newly promoted Charlton. So Thomas has had one go from a similar situation already. And Leicester get the first contact this time. Once again, it's dealt with. Good distance on the header as well.
One thing as well, when you look at Luke Thomas with the long throws, you'll always get the crowd in behind him saying that it's a foul throw. His foot goes onto the line and just slightly above it, but as long as it's touching the line, it's fine.
It has been, just in the games that I've watched so far this season, a fair few foul throws, which they're always quite surprising to see. I think I've seen 4 already this season. Here's Chowdhury for Leicester, looks to thread one forwards as they look to get Will Alves into the game a little more. Marty Cifuentes speaking glowingly about Will Alves as well and the talent that he possesses, says that he will get minutes this season to show what he can do. Had a loan spell at Cardiff at the end of last season, 14 appearances and a goal in that time. Of course, it was a difficult campaign for Cardiff as well, as they slipped out of the Championship. Chowdhury looking to lift it long, seeking the run of McAteer, who hasn't really got in the game yet, has he, David?
No, he hasn't. I think if we had a heat map on him, the amount of touches would be, I think, maybe on one hand. But the one thing that you'll say that with Casey McAteer, he works really, really hard. I know that he played, what, 18 games last year in the Premier League, and I know that the Leicester fans really like Casey McAteer a lot for his work rate. But so far, yet to get into the game. And you can see sometimes with Leicester they get a little bit frustrated because you see there's a mid block, but when you look at the back unit for Huddersfield, they are actually dropping quite deep, as if to say, well, we're not going to allow you to play any balls in behind.
Nelson in trouble once again, and the door might just open up here for Huddersfield. Ben Wiles was in all kinds of space there at the back post, but the ball couldn't be worked to him, and Oliver Skipp just mops things up for Leicester. He tries to find McAteer. Now Brewski with time to set himself. Fires it over the top. Clear sight of goal, and perhaps one that he should have made more of.
Well, it's an excellent strike from Ruskin, but what on earth is Oliver Skipp doing there? If he's going to go and play that ball, he's got to go and play it in behind Casey McAteer. Plays it far too short. Gives Ruskin a great opportunity. It is a great strike. Not sure that the goalkeeper was going to get close to it, maybe fingertips, but just goes over the crossbar. But once again, you can see opportunities being created by poor defensive decisions.
Ben Nelson struggling perhaps early in this game. It was his slip which initially opened the door for that previous Huddersfield attack. Now McAteer pushes it down the line, and you're right to point out the lack of touches that he's had in this game so far, David. The fewest of any player on the pitch, as Ruskin looks to advance it. Doesn't have a great deal in terms of options ahead of him. Huddersfield will just have to build up the play here and play it patiently. Here's Rowan. It's awoken the crowd here, isn't it? At the Aku Stadium. Great noise sweeping around this ground. Ball forwards, and Stalazic comes and claims decisive goalkeeping. Leicester having the better possession so far this evening, 57% of the ball, but haven't had an attempt on target as of yet.
I can't really remember Lee Nichols doing anything, to be honest with you, apart from that miss-hit cross from Jeremy Monga. Not really had a lot to do. He's had 1 or 2 corners against him, but they've dealt with it really well. I thought that Murray Wallace, again, he's been very commanding inside of his 18-yard box. I think the last set play that came in, it was a Storm in a header to clear that ball away. But it's very evenly matched at this moment in time, isn't it?
Nothing between the sides so far, as Monga again looks to carry the ball forwards. He brings it into the penalty area, but it's cleared away.
But again, you can have a look at the amount of blue and white shirts inside of that 18-yard box. This time, you have to say that David Kasuma just picked up a great position. Invariably, when you get towards the byline, you're looking to pull that ball back, and he sensed where the danger was.
Skip sends it into the penalty area. McAteer wins the header. Chowdhury in the way, throw in to Huddersfield. It's been a fantastic start to the season for Lee Grant's side. 2 tough games for them to begin their League One campaign. Fantastic victory against Leyton Orient here on the opening day. And Reading, that can be a tricky place to go, and in the end they had too much for Reading 4 days ago, scoring those 2 late goals.
And when you mention about the 2 late goals, the 4 of the 5 goals that they've scored so far have been in the second half. So it tells you that they get stronger. They become a little bit better intensity going forward. As I mentioned before, Lee Grant taking care of the strikers when he was at Ipswich Town. And when you look at the bench for Huddersfield Town, they've got some good players who can put the ball into the back of the net as well.
More so than Alfie May, who came to the club from Birmingham City in the summer. That looks like a really shrewd piece of business. Started last season on fire for Birmingham, didn't he? 4 goals in his first 4 league games. A bit of a barren spell in the second half of the season, but he knows where the back of the net is, Alfie May. So many goals he's scored in recent seasons.
You know, now moving on, because was it Stansfield came to Birmingham? Came for a lot of money, scored a lot of goals as well.
Nelson comes over to deal with it and touches it down neatly to find Thomas. Now Samari's got pressure over his left shoulder, but he elegantly strides away, and Leicester have worked that wonderfully well. Will Alves finding McAteer into the Huddersfield penalty area. McAteer fires it across goal. Retrieved by Patson Daka. Plenty to admire there in the way that Leicester just popped that ball about. Cross comes in, and again it's got too much on it. So what have you made so far, David, of Jeremy Monga? A first competitive start for him.
Well, apart from the dive inside of the 18-yard box, you have to say the amount of touches that he's had has been superb, causing problems for Lyndon Gooch down that left-hand side. And as I mentioned, he's got 2 very quick feet, can go either way, and he's got pace as well, especially from a standing start, which is always going to cause problems. But that was by far the best bit of play there from Leicester City, and it all stemmed from Sumari, who's yet again.
Here's Monga, low cross comes in, it's cleared behind for a corner.
Yeah, again, Josh Feeney in the right place at the right time. And I was just about to say, with that movement that we saw with Leicester City going forward, the previous attempt that Casey McAteer had, I think the ball was going wide, but still Josh Feeney managed to get a little touch away from the goal as well. Here we have a little look at Luke Thomas on the far side. Always comes and delivers decent balls, but from this area, generally, it's a lofted ball. I'd like to see a little bit more flatter.
See Joe Taylor and Alfie May, 2 of Huddersfield's goal-scoring options on the bench this evening, in close proximity here to Thomas, as he prepares to take this Leicester City corner. Host of players around the penalty spot right now as Thomas's ball comes in. McAteer with the header, didn't get over it. Over the top it goes.
Yeah, that's far too easy, isn't it, for Leicester City, and McAteer, who's not picked up at all. Eventually, when the defender comes out, he's far too late, but really should be hitting the target, heading the ball down. He's got to do a lot better from that position. say no shirt sponsor for Leicester City at the moment. I would say we've seen those in the recent seasons, haven't we? Remember Nottingham Forest a couple of years ago in the Premier League.
Jeremy Monga last year, didn't we, playing for Leicester as a 15-year-old, and he wasn't allowed to wear the shirt with a sponsor on. He doesn't have those problems this year because, as it stands right now, nothing emblazoned across the front of that Leicester jersey. Neat ball from Chowdhury to find Soumare. Free kick given by David Webb. The crowd not happy, but you have to commend just how close the referee was there, keeping up with play.
Well, I thought there with Dion Charles, he does really well. He just puts his foot across the thigh of Soumare, and deemed as a foul. As you're right to say, David Webb, excellent position to see that one. Did think he got the wrong in the first one. I think it was Ben Turner on I think it was Dion Charles.
Huddersfield early in the game believing they could have had a penalty as they burst out of the blocks here. But a pretty even game so far as we tick towards the final 10 minutes of this first half. Just a reminder for you as well that if we are level after 90 minutes this evening, then we go straight to a penalty shootout. And of course there were a fair few ties that were settled that way last evening. Alves under pressure, he finds Chowdhury. Alves looking to turn, and a bit of pressure upon him leads to a Leicester City free kick. Let's get the feeling that the benches could play a big role here this evening, and a variety of options, good options available to both Lee Grant and Martí Cifuentes.
Yeah, as you're right to say, and I look at the subs bench for Leicester City, and you have Ayew and El Khanous, Mavididi. Lewis Page is somebody that I quite like as well. There's a lot of talk about him as well, coming off the bench for tonight. And Harry Winks as well. I think Harry Winks changed the complexion of the game from half-time when he came on as half-time sub for Oliver Skipp. I wonder whether Skippy was actually injured or not, but my friends at Leicester City turned around and said no, he wasn't. So obviously something tactical from Fuentes to change. And Harry Winks, we know that he's had his issues with, I say Leicester City, I would say Ruud van Nistelrooy potentially, because he didn't want to move up closer towards Leicester. He wanted to travel from London all the time, and I think that caused a big problem.
He certainly changed the game, didn't he? Or helped Leicester to turn things around at the weekend. Walked off the pitch with the Player of the Match award, Harry Winks. There was a school of thought that he might be in from the off here this evening just to get some more minutes into his legs. Here's McAteer. Works 1-2 with Alves. Cross comes in from McAteer, looping cross which travels beyond everyone. Just to go back to Harry Winks, and from what we saw at the weekend, you feel that he's going to play a big part for Leicester if they are to have success this season.
Yeah, absolutely right. But again, he's one of those players. There's a lot of speculation surrounding his future at Leicester City. You know, there's 3 clubs at this moment in time looking at him: Fiorentina, Valencia and Brentford in the Premier League as well. So it will be interesting to see what happens. And, you know, I feel sorry for managers, you know, thinking, well, am I going to have these players with me in September? And you really don't want to be planning without them. You want to be planning them with them.
There's plenty of people, isn't there, David, in the game that feel it would just be better if that window was closed before the season's got underway. Read so much, how much of it is ever actually true about interest in players and where they might end up going. Given away by Nelson, who has had a really tough first half here. Game allowed to evolve here. Advantage played by the referee. Muskin finds himself in room once again. Kasumu. Now Rowan. Neatly worked, and Wiles on the ball here. Ben Wiles with the strike, charged down by Oliver Skipp. Now Patson Daka. Finds himself with Huddersfield players all around him. Does well to just hold things up, and Alvas moves it on to Samare.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Ben Nelson, because he has struggled this first 38, 39 minutes. Potentially gives away a penalty, and then a couple of times he's been dispossessed, and his distribution at times has been lacking. But as I said, he's still a youngster. He's still only learning his trade. And it'll be one of those. I wouldn't even think and contemplate taking him off at half-time, because what will that do for his confidence level? Keep him on and he'll gain confidence. He will be a good player.
His season on loan at Oxford last year was significantly disrupted by injury. He missed 4 months of the season with a problem with one of his quads. Not too much by way of goalmouth action, it has to be said, so far here this evening.
No, it's been poor in that respect, isn't it? We know there was an effort there from Ben Wiles. It was well blocked, as you're right to say, from Oliver Skipp, but neither goalkeeper, as far as I'm led to believe, has had a shot to save.
It's been a relatively straightforward night so far for Jakub Stalazic and for Lee Nichols. Sunderland at the Stadium of Light, waiting for the victors here this evening. Header from Alves. Now Samare looks to just push it on first time. Touchdown by McAteer. Gets away from Alves. Skipp again there for Leicester. Quickest onto the loose ball. And then a poor pass from Samare, looking to find McAteer. There's been some sloppy passing in this first half from both sides. Just a game, perhaps, David, that just needs a spark right now.
It does, and you can see that at times when they've got the ball at the back and they're moving it from side to side, it looks good, but you have to turn around and say, well, oh my dear, nearly gets picked off, doesn't he, there? Lee Nichols, Patson Daka getting onto him very, very sharpish, but it's really the final third where both sides really have lacked any sort of industry whatsoever.
We take a look at the statistics from the first half, and 3 shots apiece from both teams. Just the one on target in the game so far. That belongs to Huddersfield, but just look at that, Dave. Just 4 touches inside the Leicester City box so far for Lee Grant's team. Leicester with the better share of possession, but haven't worked it into threatening areas too many times. Play allowed to continue. Here's Monga. Daka taking his time to get back to his feet. Oliver Skipp making a surge forward from the base of the Leicester midfield. Alves and McAteer waiting in the middle right now. Daka making his way towards the penalty area to join them. And a good battle that, hasn't it, between Jeremy Monga and Lyndon Gooch. Gooch has made more tackles than any other player in the game so far this evening, 7 in total.
Yeah, very experienced, as I mentioned, the 29-year-old USA international. Say he's got his work cut out. We never think that, you know, when you're reaching 30, that you're going to be playing against a 16-year-old. But the 16-year-old is very, very talented.
As I mentioned, he made his debut for Leicester last season at the age of 15. Did Jeremy Monga. Came on as a substitute in 7 of their final 8 Premier League games last season. Of course, Lyndon Gooch will very much be hoping that he can get a return to Sunderland, get his team through this evening. The prize on offer. Premier League teams coming into the competition in the second round, and then we'll see the teams competing in Europe dropping into the competition from round 3. Thrilling competition last season, which was of course won by Newcastle to end that long wait for a trophy.
Yeah, I was just trying to think, when was the last time that you saw Manchester United in the second round?
A long time. A long time. They've been drawn away at Grimsby, by the way, as the ball's flicked towards goal, and a bit of work to do for Lee Nichols, who does well to hold on to it, because had he spilt that, the pressure was coming.
Yeah, he covers the ground really well. There's the ball in from Luke Thomas. I think it comes off Murray Wallace in the end. Just a slight little deflection. And the keeper deals with it really well, as you're right to say. He's got to have good hands there, especially with Daka just bearing down on him.
Into the final minute of the 45, and I wouldn't think there'll be too much time added on at the end of this first half. It's been relatively free-flowing.
I think if I was Lee Grant, I might be having a word with David Webb and just saying, I think you need to go and revisit that incident once again. Because for me, that was a stonewall penalty.
Came very early in proceedings, didn't it, as well? No penalty forthcoming. Here's Luke Thomas as Leicester look to finish this first half in style. Just the one additional minute to be bolted on at the end of this first half. Thomas swings one in, awkward for Lee Nichols, who was tempted before he retreated back towards his line. It's another Leicester City corner.
Well, once again, I'm sure you'll see that Luke Thomas will come across with his left foot. I think that was the combination that got Wout Faes the goal, the winning goal against Sheffield Wednesday. And really needs to put this into a good area. Say a lot of bodies in and around the penalty spot.
Faes will certainly be hoping that he can find the freedom that he found 3 minutes from time at the weekend to win those 3 points for Leicester. So Thomas sends it towards the back post. Free header here, down back across goal, and if they get a move on, Leicester will have a chance to try once more. It was McAteer again.
It's a decent corner, I have to say. You see there's the little foil from the players going towards the near post, which allows McAteer to just go and spin around at the far post. It's a decent enough header.
Crowded 6-yard box in and around Lee Nichols. Corner drifted towards the back post, and Huddersfield just about managed to scramble the ball away. Half-time whistle has gone, with Oliver Skipp down just in front of the goal line. Leicester players are asking the question of David Webb. Looks as if Skipp is okay.
When I saw that, I thought that was a high boot. I think it was Josh Feeney. Yeah, you can see that. Again, decent delivery. Attacked really well. And there you can see Oliver Skipp. Is that outside of the 18-yard box? Does that become a free kick? Is there any difference?
Certainly the question that some of the Leicester players were asking David Webb. So it's half-time here at the Aku Stadium between League One Huddersfield Town and Championship Leicester City. No score between the two sides. Half-time, 0-0.
And here is the first of those big penalty shouts inside 3 minutes, Chris. What do you make of it?
I just don't understand it here. You see Ruben Ruskin played in there. But Ben Nelson takes him down. The only charitable interpretation is you think he's slipping, but the referee is in a perfect position. He's completely taken out. And that is a nailed-on penalty every day of the week. Of course, we don't have VAR here in the Carabao Cup as you don't in the EFL. And then he would be another shout. Again, driving through that area. Again, that boot is left out. I think the referee just determined... I'm not going to blow the whistle for anything today. There was a shout down the other end of the pitch as well. Here's a chancer that comes later as well for Huddersfield. Poor giveaway there from Leicester at the back, and it's the very same Ruskin that has it go, and he absolutely stings that over the crossbar. But I'll be honest, I don't understand how there's not 2 penalties given in the favour
The
of
mare come
Huddersfield
tough in Yorkshire is probably the only way to describe it. You got to hack them down with a scythe to get a penalty these days. I think particularly that first, I mean, we look at both there, and I do agree with you that as we see the first half statistics, Leicester having more of the ball, more shots as well, but nothing to show for it, still goalless. You know, both of them probably penalties, certainly from us looking at it. We've got the opportunity to see those replays, but it's the first one.
Yeah.
You mentioned maybe that you could say he slipped slightly, but it's so far from the ball. How is that not a foul?
I have no idea. I think we did see other players slipping as well in the game, so maybe that's the charitable interpretation. This is the second one.
This is the second one,
that we talked about. And again, that's just a leg left in there by Nelson, who is culpable for both of these incidents, by the way. Just leaving legs in when you shouldn't. And I think in some ways, for me, the fouls are not just necessarily about the contact. I think it's also about the defender gets beat, because it's an incredible turn there from Ruskin in the area. He turns, and he's in a good position to take advantage, and he gets tripped up. So the defender got beat on both occasions, and he sticks a leg out to try and slow things down. I haven't a clue how that's not given. And in some ways, you know, there are a lot of people that talk about the game as purists, right? As, you know, oh, isn't it great when games don't have
look
VAR?
where the ball is.
But I don't think you can accept this. If you're Huddersfield, you go out of the competition now, it'd be very difficult to accept this outcome given that decision. I'll be honest, when I watch games that don't have VAR, I miss it. And I appreciate that's not a very popular opinion, but I really do. I think that there are times where that is so bleedingly obvious that it's kind of difficult to kind of go on from the rest of the game from there and not think that the game should probably be 1-0 from, at the very least, that one decision.
As we saw from the stats, Leicester having slightly more of the ball, more shots as well. They are, you know, the better team if you look at the league tables, the Championship and League
There's newly relegated teams are struggling, though.
That's what I mean.
You don't see a shot on target.
You pulled the question right out of my mouth, because it's not only them. Quite a few teams have been relegated, not just from the Premier League, but also in the lower divisions as well, have struggled at the start of this season.
Yeah, we're watching Sheffield United right now losing to Birmingham. We saw on Tuesday night, we saw Ipswich go out to Bromley in this round of the Cup as well. I think there's an adjustment. And to be fair, August is a difficult period for these teams because they've got to figure out from a Premier League squad who wants to stay, how do we ship them off? Are we getting a cut rate price? So there's a lot of squad turnover until the very close of the window. And so there's 3 weeks where you're playing games not really knowing what the squad is going to be. So I think you're seeing all 3 of those teams struggle, and perhaps with a reason.
The other thing for Leicester, personnel changes, managerial changes. It's a club
Financial
that's been
restrictions.
A lot of turmoil recently. You're right there. Time for a short break. The second half is coming right up between Huddersfield and Leicester. We'll take a look at the draw for the second round of the Carabao Cup next. You're watching Carabao Cup half-time. We'll take you back to Acu Stadium for the second half between Huddersfield and Leicester in just a minute. But first, here's a quick check on the second round draw for the Carabao Cup, which was completed before kick-off today. 11 Premier League teams in the hat at this stage. That's all the teams not playing in European competition this season. It's divided into a north section and south section geographically. The fixtures to be played the week commencing August the 25th. We've got Tranmere Burton playing Lincoln, Accrington Doncaster, Wigan Stockport, Stoke versus Bradford, Burnley against Derby, Sunderland taking on Huddersfield or Leicester, Birmingham or Sheffield United against Port Vale, Preston Wrexham, Barnsley or Fleetwood face Rotherham, Bolton or Sheffield Wednesday against Leeds, Everton against Mansfield. And then we move to the south section. Fulham, Premier League team against Bristol City, Norwich Southampton, which should be a good game, Oxford Brighton, Reading AFC Wimbledon, Bournemouth Brentford, Millwall Coventry, Wolves against West Ham, Swansea Plymouth, Bromley Wickham, Cardiff against Cheltenham or Exeter, and Cambridge versus Charlton. Chris, any of those that jump out to you?
Yeah, there was one that you didn't mention in the North region, which was Manchester United.
Manchester United.
Yeah, Manchester United are in this round of the draw, and they're away to Grimsby Town, which is kind of, I think, in some ways, an encapsulation of, man, you're in this competition to begin with at this stage. Normally, you'd think of United as a team that should be one of the teams that's skipping this round by being in Europe. Instead, you're away at Grimsby Town. And I think that is kind of an encapsulation of where they ought to start their season.
Yeah, should be an interesting tie, that one. A traditional cup tie. Time for a short break. The second half coming right up between Huddersfield and Leicester. We'll be back to your match commentators next.
DVD or this VHS, and good times at Huddersfield.
Well, Huddersfield, of course, a club that have been on a great journey over recent years. Of course, they had those Premier League seasons, didn't they? Real moments for their supporters to cherish. Of course, for Leicester, well, it's been a bit of a yo-yo existence, hasn't it, in recent years? Fourth successive season in which they've began life in a new division. Very much hoping that that run will continue and they can get themselves back to the Premier League this year as the players begin to emerge for this second half here. Leicester perhaps just need to have a bit more cut and thrust in the final third. They're seeing plenty of the ball.
Yeah, they have, but the quality going into the box has not been up to the standard, really, that Marty Cifuentes would like. You mentioned that Monga down the left-hand side has been more prevalent rather than Casey McAteer. He's not really got in behind his fullback of Rowan so far. But also when you go into those areas, you need bodies inside of that box. And what Huddersfield have been doing really well, as I mentioned before, out of possession, is getting behind the ball and making it more difficult for Leicester to get players into those advanced areas to get attempts on target.
So we're all set to get underway here at the Aku Stadium. The only tie tonight in the Carabao Cup, still awaiting a goal, still awaiting a twist or two and some drama. Just a reminder that if we are level on 90 minutes, we will go straight to a penalty shootout as Thomas gives away the free kick. Just confirmation of that substitution for you as well. Will Alves, the player replaced by Marty Cifuentes at half-time.
You know, you have to say that Will Alves did nothing wrong. And great experience for the youngster, 45 minutes playing him with the first team. But now it gives Lewis Page, 17 years of age, again, coming through the academy, a good opportunity to play 45 minutes with very experienced players in and amongst him.
Threaded through by Skip, or at least that was the intention. Didn't quite work out for him. Now Huddersfield happy to go back to front quickly as they look to try and catch Leicester out here. Support beginning to arrive. Kasumu, encouraged to shoot by the crowd. He took up that invitation, but his effort crashed off Sumare. I might have my maths wrong, David, but I think that's 7 players out there now for Leicester. Out of the 11 which have come through their academy system. It really does show the strength that they have in that department.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, very, very well-organised academy. And you're right to say a lot of players coming through at this moment in time. And that can only be great for Leicester City.
Now Monga gets his toe to it, but just skips away from him. Of course, Leicester have some of the best training facilities in the country, don't they? Invested heavily in the Seagrave complex, which they moved to a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely right. I've not actually been to the new one. The old training ground was a little bit worn, as I would like to say, and they needed to go and move, and I'm led to believe it's one of the best in the country. And I'm sure that Leicester fans will be glad to hear that, but maybe a little bit more investment in players. But we still know there's a possible point deduction.
That's the shadow,
coming ahead, and that's always a worry, isn't it?
The shadow hanging over Leicester City's season. Will there be a punishment to come from the EFL? Marty Cifuentes said last week, everything's there for Leicester to be successful. As we touched upon, they have that wonderful training ground. They've got a good group of players, great stadium at the King Power, and good support as well. Rocky times for them, perhaps, right now, as Fast just has to clear the ball out of touch. Marty Cifuentes, very much summer vibes from him this evening.
Yeah, very much. I think that might change when it comes to about December and January in Yorkshire.
Enjoy it while you can. Been a lovely day up here. But it's a game that hasn't really heated up so far. Will we get a bit more entertainment in this second period? If you are joining us a little later in proceedings, Sunderland away at the prize for these two teams here this evening. The draw made just before we kicked off. Can Huddersfield conjure up from this situation? So Luke Thomas for Leicester fling a few balls into the box from long throw-ins in the first half. What have Huddersfield got up their sleeve? And it comes from Rowe, and it's comfortably cleared away by Nelson, but it drops straight back to Rowan, who can now send in across it.
I say it's going to be an important game for Rowan as well, to go and impress the manager, knowing that Mikel Miller, the natural left back, is out with a hamstring injury, so he's got a good opportunity to stake his claim here at left back.
Just has the ball taken off him there by McAteer. Huddersfield fearing it could be 8 weeks that Mikel Miller is out of action for both of them early in the season.
And I have to say that the 2 games that I've seen him play in so far this season, he's been superb as well. And it's so disappointing to lose an influential player down that left-hand flank. Once again, the thing I like about David Webb, apart from the fact that he didn't give a penalty in the first few minutes, is that he's allowed the advantage to be played. Some people don't particularly like it, but what he does, he just allows another second or 2 seconds and see how the play develops.
There's Lyndon Gooch, who had to do much of his work in the first half defensively, now looking to influence the game further downfield. Monga, though, tracking back to dispossess him. He's confident, isn't he, Jeremy Monga? Backs himself in tight situations.
He does, and as I said, like, he can go right, he can go left, and there was a little nutmeg on the vastly experienced Lyndon Gooch. There's a little pull of the shirt, and right in front of the referee. And sometimes that's what you have to do as a wide player, especially in the system that they're playing, where they've got 2 holding midfielders and 2 wide players in McAteer and Monga, is that they have to go and really work with Luke Thomas and Hamza Chowdhury to make sure they're not isolated, but also with the full-backs going in advance, Lyndon Gooch and Rowan, they've got to go and help and make sure they're not a 2v1 situation.
Marty Cifuentes filling up the notepad. There's no Abdul Fatawu on the Leicester bench this evening. Great to see him back in action at the weekend. Of course, he is one of those that Leicester fans are fearing may well be prized away before the end of the transfer window. There's been a bit of talk this week. Only just back from a long injury layoff. Here's Chowdhury, tucking in between his 2 centre-halves. Gets it back off Nelson. Huddersfield working hard, looking to frustrate Leicester, looking to be difficult to play through. Leicester finds Oliver Skipp, and he can then in turn feed Jeremy Monga. Into the penalty area he goes. Monga just tried to touch it off to Skipp, but just didn't quite put enough on it.
Yeah, I was expecting there. Monga was isolated 1v1 against Lyndon Gooch. A little bit disappointed that one of the centre midfielders didn't come across to help Lyndon Gooch. 1v1, and then when the youngster comes inside, I'm saying shoot, but tries to be a little bit too intricate with his pass and just failed.
It's Wout Faes into Thomas. Now Monga, and again he's got himself into a situation here where he can drive towards the Huddersfield penalty area, lays it off to Skipp, who clips one into the back post just over the head of Patson Daka. Skipp wins the header, and Leicester can look to build again. Good couple of minutes for Marty Cifuentes' side, seeing plenty of the ball. Now McAteer. Lewis Page under pressure, tight to the touchline. Holds off the pressure which comes, and Leicester with this grip on possession. Wout Faes. Daka waiting in the middle. Skipp's made a burst in there as well. Huddersfield keeping things tight, keeping compact, forcing Leicester to be patient. Chowdhury feeds a good ball in to find McAteer, and he was looking to find Daka. Now Chowdhury with the effort. Fabulous hit. Hamza Chowdhury fires Leicester City into the lead. A delightful goal. And it comes off the back of a period of possession. And the patience does pay off. Leicester ahead by a 1-0.
Well, the way that they're able to recycle the ball, Wout Faes again, instrumental in a lot of good things going forward. But I thought there was the opportunity, which was well spurned by Josh Feeney getting the ball away. But inadvertently, it comes back to Hamza Chowdhury, and he doesn't really have to think about what he needs to do. There's the first good touch, there's the second. What a strike that is. And I have to say, that's the best goal of his career. He's only scored one before, and he won't score a better one than that, Hamza Chowdhury. Captain for this evening, and he'll be delighted, as will Marty Cifuentes and the travelling Leicester City fans as well.
Well, he's waited a long time for that goal. Hamza Chowdhury's last and his only previous goal, as David mentioned, came all the way back on New Year's Day 2020. That one over 5.5 years in the making, and he caught it so sweetly. Leicester have lift-off here this evening, but can Huddersfield find an instant reply? In comes the cross, pulled back brilliantly, and there is a chance to level up here. Wout Faes in the way. Defended that really well. Player down in the middle right now, so a problem for Huddersfield. But just the response that Lee Grant would have been looking for, his side biting back and threatening to get an equalising goal.
Well, the one thing I don't understand is why did Dion Charles not pull the trigger? He wanted to have that first touch, and it was a very heavy first touch. But again, so open. I have to say, it's a decent challenge there from Soumaré. But the opportunity was there. Here we go. It should have been hit there. Too big a challenge. It's a good block, you have to say, from Wout Faes. But I think there was an opportunity to let that right foot go.
That Leicester City goal seems to have awoken Huddersfield, who are on the front foot once again. Clumsy from Wout Faes, who had a couple of nibbles there and gives away the free kick right on the edge of the penalty area for the challenge on Cameron Ashia.
Again, I think it's just part of the shirt pull to start off with, and then eventually when he gets turned, there you can see the lunge from Wout Faes. Gives a great opportunity here for Huddersfield Town. I'm sure if Herbie Kane would have been on it, he would have fancied this. There you can see Ruskin, Lyndon Gooch, and I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Wiles isn't going to be too far away.
Plenty of interest in this set piece. The discussion's still taking place. Sean Rowan, perhaps it favours him with his left foot, but he stepped away. Looks as if Ruben Ruskin has an interest here as well. We saw him have that strike in the first half, didn't we, which just went over the top. It certainly fancies a left footer, but it's going to be clipped in instead. The header straight at Stolajic.
Well, a little bit surprised that they clipped the ball in. It's a decent header in the end from Josh Feeney. Good little clip from Lyndon Gooch. But again, it's just the direction, wasn't it? Very comfortable for Stolajic, you'd have to say. Good goalkeeping, anticipated where that ball was going. But I just thought there was an opportunity there to go and whip that ball over the wall towards the right post. But since going behind, it's an excellent response from the home side.
Monga, lovely from him to beat Lyndon Gooch. Still Jeremy Monga now. Can he pick somebody out? He looks to cut it back, skip onto the loose ball, touches it across to Chowdhury. He couldn't do it again, could he? This time it's charged down. Hadn't scored for 5.5 years. Calm down, Hamza Chowdhury.
Yeah, but what a strike that was from Chowdhury. He said he won't hit a sweeter strike than that in his life. And that's really what the game needed. We needed something like that to bring out Huddersfield Town as well. And as I mentioned, they've had an excellent response from that. Nothing to lose from the home side.
And they've got themselves a free kick here. Different game. You wonder how long it might be now before Lee Grant just has a little look towards his bench, the likes of Alfie May and Joe Taylor. Leicester are going to make a couple of changes themselves. We're going to see Steffi Mavadidi and Harry Winks introduced into the action. So just shy of an hour for Jeremy Monga, the 16-year-old making his first competitive start, and the first of many it will be, I am sure. Some really bright moments within that performance, David.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think the situation as well, Andy, is that because he's already picked up a yellow card, they've gone 1-0 ahead. They don't want to take the opportunity or the chance that he picks up a second yellow card. And when you have somebody like Mavadidi coming on, more experienced, you know, and Harry Winks, which was the substitution that was made at half-time with a win at the weekend. Again, lots of experience from Harry Winks. I've always liked him as a player, and I just felt with what happened last year, maybe they could have resolved that issue a lot quicker.
With a skip, the other player to make way for Leicester. Harry Winks will come on, and Fuentes will hope that he can just allow them to keep a close grip of possession, but they're in trouble here. Stolazic reacted wonderfully well. He was in no man's land there, but he jumped so high, strong right hand to it. It all came about from his own misplaced pass. But he makes amends to just push that one away.
Well, it's a good job he's 6'4", isn't it? As you're right to say, very, very fortunate. But good opportunity for Huddersfield.
Ball cut back, and nothing comes of it this time. And we've still got players forwards here, and the cross is turned behind for a corner. As you mentioned, David, it's been a good response from Lee Grant's side since they fell behind. Knocking on the door here as Lyndon Gooch prepares to take this corner. Into the front post it goes. It's dealt with by Daka. Ben Wiles' eyes would have lit up a few moments ago when he saw Stolazic so far off his line. Couldn't quite lift it high enough. Chowdhury steps in with the challenge, but the pressure continues to come. Goal kick, though, is the outcome here, much to the displeasure of the majority inside this stadium.
Yeah, I totally agree with that decision from the referee, David Webb. Got that one absolutely spot on.
Some change coming now by Lee Grant, who's going to bring on Leo Castledine. Ben Wiles is the player being replaced. He hands over the captain's armband. So here comes Leo Castledine. Can he make his mark on this game? Can he help Huddersfield get themselves back on level terms?
Yeah, as you're right to say, a little bit of family history with Leo Castledine. Had a little bit of a spell at Shrewsbury last year. 26 and 2 goals that he scored. It gives him a good opportunity, and I don't think Ben Wiles has come off because of that opportunity that he missed. You have to say that Stolazic did really, really well, just amended for the error that he made. But I still think there's something left in this game for Huddersfield to get themselves back into it.
Castledine's certainly a player who can open the door, can make things happen. Shrewsbury really struggled last season, terrible campaign for them, but he sparkled at times. Appears to have a very bright future ahead of him. Huddersfield happy to send it long when they feel the chance arises, and there's a good ball forwards as well. Now the challenge comes in from Chowdhury, and the referee this time does point to the penalty spot, and Huddersfield have a chance here to level things up. It looked clumsy, it looked mistimed from Hamza Chowdhury, and the referee immediately pointed to the spot for that challenge on Ruskin.
And the thing is, you have to say that why does Hamza Chowdhury have to go to ground? But I look at the initial ball from Rowan. It's a great ball because you could see that the back unit of Leicester were too high, and that's why Ruxon was able to get in behind. Dion Charles is the one who's going to take this penalty. We know they've had the one penalty so far, the one that May put away against Leyton Orient when they won 3-0. But this is a golden opportunity for Dion Charles.
It's been a good response from Huddersfield since falling behind. Can they now level up? Charles steps up, it's kept out by Stelazic, but he can do nothing to keep out the rebound. Daniel Voss, quickest to pounce. Huddersfield 1, Leicester City 1. Gutting for Stelazic, but for Daniel Voss, well, he just sensed something might happen. And he brings this game back level.
Well, you have to say that Stelazic does really well. He guesses exactly where the penalty spot is being taken, but you have to commend Daniel Voss. He's off the mark, the quickest. I'm sure that Marty Cifuentes will not be happy because his players didn't react as quick as the central midfielder. We know that we've not really mentioned much about Daniel Voss, but what an important goal that is, A, for himself and B, for Huddersfield. But we had said that ignited the home side, the goal coming from Hamza Chowdhury, but why does he have to go to ground? But I take it back and say what a great ball that was from Rowan to start off with. The Leicester back unit was too high, they were too square, good movement, and then eventually when Chowdhury goes to ground, it's a no-brainer for the referee. It's a penalty.
Just a second senior start tonight for 19-year-old Daniel Voss and his first senior goal. This game could go either way right now. Mavididi has only recently come on for Leicester, as too as Harry Winks. Mavididi once again, he's really good in these situations, finds himself doubled up. Now Winks chops back onto his left foot, back onto his right. Thomas back to Mavididi, who can weave his way inside, but he just turned into the traffic and the ball coming off referee David Webb. Leicester applying the squeeze as we approach the midway point in the second half. Hamza Chowdhury with that wonderful goal to put Leicester ahead. Daniel Voss, though, he can get 1-1. Huddersfield have got their tails up here. Game allowed to go on. And now it will be pulled back, but it will be a Leicester City free kick. And a yellow card as well for Sean Rowan.
Yeah, I didn't think that was a free kick given away from Wout Faes to start off with, but you can see there the little dive, little bit of a slip once again, but it was the fact that Wout Faes has a go at the referees. Just got to be careful. You can't be doing that nowadays.
We saw that in the Leicester game, didn't we, at the weekend when Barry Bannon picked up the first of his 2 yellow cards for dissent, the way he reacted to the decision. Mavididi. Now Harry Winks opens up for him and he tucks it away sublimely. It's a magnificent finish from Harry Winks. And you just knew exactly what he was going to do there as he picked up possession. Leicester back in front in no time at all. And it's the two substitutes who combine to put Marty Cifuentes' side back on course for a place in round 2.
And that all stems from a free kick given away from Rowan. But you have a little look and say, well, Mavididi does really well to start off with. And then when it comes out to Harry Winks, all he's got to be thinking about is just opening up his body, creating that little half a yard. Doesn't have to put the pace through the ball. All he's got to do is have the direction. The ball will zip off the surface anyway. And it's an excellent goal, you have to say, for Leicester and Harry Winks.
Just passed it into the far corner. Harry Winks, composed, controlled finish, and now the cavalry will come from Lee Grant. Alfie May and Joe Taylor both set to come on here. Dion Charles, his night is done. His penalty saved a few minutes ago before Daniel Voss was there to level things up. So on comes Taylor. And Ruben Ruskin, who won the penalty for Huddersfield as well, is also replaced. Not a bad couple of substitutes to have up your sleeve for a team in League One. Alfie May and Joe Taylor.
No, absolutely right, and you'll see this season they will be very influential. And I'm sure the way that things are stemmed for Huddersfield and League Grant, yes, they're losing 2-1 at this moment in time, but I've been very impressed the way they've gone about their business so far this season. But they will be instrumental this season, Joe Taylor and Alfie May. Good side, but at this moment in time, just gone behind, just by a little bit of quality from Harry Winks.
Well, they've shown they can respond after falling behind once already tonight, Huddersfield. Can they do it again? They've got 20 minutes to find a second equaliser. Alfie May, they have a player who scored 16 times for Birmingham. Last season, he scored 82 goals at League One level in his previous 4 seasons playing in the 3rd tier. He looks the perfect player for Huddersfield to have this season as they mount a challenge for a promotion to the Championship. And Leicester looking to break away here, looking for a 3rd goal, which might just be enough to seal a place in round 2 and that trip to Sunderland. Mavididi just forced to check back. Here's the goal scorer, Winks. Leicester happy to play it patient. Sumare. Allowed to go on as Lewis Page goes down. Plenty of time for Huddersfield, though, still in this game. Just a reminder, if it is level after 90 minutes, we will go straight to a penalty shootout. That misjudged by Nelson. Valvas with a bit of intricate skill and then something a little bit different as he just launches that one long.
Yeah, slightly, you'd have to say, not in the professional manner as you'd like to say, but Mavididi up against Lyndon Gooch. All he's got to do is find Harry Winks. Has a couple first little touches. As I mentioned, he just has to open up his body and then just slot it to the far right-hand corner. Goalkeeper, yes, at full tilt, but can't get anywhere near it.
Cleared away by Feeney. Nelson onto it. I certainly feel, Huddersfield, that they can still create some chances in the time that remains, and they're on the surge here. Taylor's waiting in the middle, May in there as well. Kasumi. Bashir just drifted into an offside position. Those ones are so frustrating, aren't they? And it means that that move breaks down.
Yeah, he's still learning his trade, hasn't he, Asher? And that's a time where you've got to look along the line. But once again, you look at the back unit of Leicester. As soon as that ball goes up, they go and shift up 5 yards, and that's why Asher is being caught in an offside position. You know, you saw there Cifuentes with his notepad, just writing bits and pieces down. I just wonder whether or not he is actually writing down, potentially, the penalty takers.
Here's Lewis Page going for goal. Some way off target in the end. With a good preparation by Marty Cifuentes, if he is considering that right now, as we take another look at this moment from Lewis Page. Lovely turn, just couldn't quite find the execution on the strike.
You know, the one thing that I was going to say is that since Lewis Page has come on, I like him. He's a great physique, he's got good pace, he closes the ball down, very, very technical. And again, talented, 17 years of age. As I said, the future is bright for Leicester City. We know, as you're right to say, there's a shadow hanging over them at this present time, but, you know, if they can get those youngsters on the field as much as possible, I can say I can see real bright things here for Leicester.
They lead by 2-1 here this evening. It was 0-0 at half-time. The game has come to life since the restart. And Huddersfield happy to send one in behind that Leicester defence, but that one is going to run out of play. Blackpool next up for Huddersfield at the weekend. A trip up to the northwest for them as they look to continue this 100% start to their league season. Grant plotting in discussion with his coaching staff, trying to work out a way in which his side can get back into this game for a second time this evening. Laid off by Castledine to Kasumu. Shia, who's had plenty of touches in recent minutes. Now Kasumu just looking to bring play out to this near side where it's brought down by Gooch. Finds himself under pressure from Thomas. Was just trying to set Taylor in behind. Intercepted by Murray Wallace. Grass to run into here for Ashia. Huddersfield committing plenty of plays to attack. Ashia's strike! Oh my word! What a fabulous finish! Well, he's making a name for himself. Cameron Ashia. It's a dream of a goal to bring Huddersfield level for a second time this evening. Lee Grant not giving too much away, but he'll be delighted with what he's just seen.
Well, when he picks it up, he only has one thought in his mind, and that's moving in a diagonal bit of movement. Chowdhury or Asher, who's better? It's a difficult one, but 2-2 for the youngster. But the thing is, that would disappoint me if I was Cifuentes, is how is he able to go and run that far and get that close to the Leicester City goal when nobody comes out to go and press him? But give credit where credit's due. There was only one thought in his mind, making that run, again, opening up his body, and Stelacic, 6'4", can't get anywhere near it.
And that decoy run just pulled Hamza Chowdhury out the way, didn't it? And opened up the door for Ashia to have a go at goal, and he could not have hit it any better. We've had a couple of crackers in this game this evening. We're back level once again. Two teams that have started their seasons well, confident teams. And it's all starting to come out now in this second half here at the Aku Stadium. Navididi. Which way will this contest turn next? Leicester have got themselves into a lead on 2 occasions tonight and found themselves pegged back. Navididi looks to clip in a cross, which didn't carry too much conviction. Very different to the first half, David. Very enjoyable what we've seen since half-time.
Yes, we had different thoughts at half-time, didn't we? Thinking, well, I think there was only one shot on target. Possession was given away far too many times from both sides. But it all really stemmed with Hamza Chowdhury with that strike on 54 minutes, which really brought Huddersfield out of their shell. Leicester, again, good goal from Harry Winks. You think they were going to move on and potentially progress into the next round, but then all of a sudden Asher goes and does that.
A moment of real quality from young Cameron Asher, as Huddersfield hoping of a place in round 2 once again, and well, his night is done, but he's left his mark on it for sure. Asher, a truly magnificent goal to make it 2-2, and he takes warm applause from the home fans here. As Lee Grant makes further changes, Jay Smith-Sway coming into the action. And Gucci's evening is done as well. He's replaced with just over 11 minutes to play. On comes Lasse Sorensen. He's a player that can really offer a threat from that full-back position. So it's all set 11 minutes to go. Game level. We're heading to a penalty shootout as things stand. Lewis Page battling, tussling away, but it's Huddersfield who emerge with possession, and they have themselves a free kick here. Castledine seeking the run of Sorensen, just cut out by Thomas. No way of knowing who will triumph here this evening. Winks just pokes a clever ball through to find Soumare. Lewis Page immediately on the turn, immediately looking to keep this Leicester attack moving forward. McAteer back to Page again. Further changes being readied by Martí Cifuentes. 3 so far this evening. All cleared away, but it breaks for Hamza Chowdhury, who's clattered into there. Free kick to Leicester.
Yeah, this will be an interesting substitution from Cifuentes. As I mentioned just moments ago, whether or not he was writing down potentially who the penalty takers were going to be. And we'll see in a moment who's going to be coming on, who's going to be going off. Whether there's a bit of experience coming back onto the pitch.
Patson Daka being replaced. As a few words are being exchanged between Joe Taylor and Hamza Chowdhury. So on comes Jordan Ayew, the new wearer of the Leicester City number 9. Further change being prepared as well. Bilal El Khanous set to come on here. This might just be being tweaked by Martí Cifuentes. We saw the handing of a note there by Jordan Ayew. Hamza Chowdhury, well, he blew this game open, didn't he, with that fabulous strike to make it 1-0. Captain Leicester City tonight, but on comes Bilal El Khanous. Tremendously gifted player. Can he make the difference in the little time that remains here this evening? Ayew and El Khanous, the two substitutes in discussion behind that dead ball. It will be El Khanous to take. Harry Winks in that position we saw on Sunday, starting in an offside position. Ball flicked on by Soumare. Breaks for El Khanous. Can Championship Leicester find a way to take a lead for a third time tonight? El Khanous's cross easily cut out.
Well, in the game against Sheffield Wednesday, you saw that Khanous played as a number 10. And that suits him. Last year, he played far too wide as far as I'm concerned. I just wonder with Leicester, with the changes that they've made, whether they're going to go to 3 centre-halves and 2 wing-backs, McAteer one side, Mavididi the other. I say only 7 minutes left before the penalty shootout comes. I'm sure that one of the sides would like to get the third goal and the winning goal.
Getting to the stage in the game where the next goal very likely to be a winning goal. Here is Winks, who had put Leicester into a 2-1 lead. El Khanous clips it forward, looking for Jordan Ayew, who's under close attention here. Still Ayew resisting the pressure, but can't force the ball through. Now Taylor, can he hold it up for Huddersfield? He can ride a couple of challenges. Sorensen quick to offer his support. Neatly worked. Here's Kasumu, and he can stride forwards and take Huddersfield into Leicester territory. Fast commits himself. Winks slides in. Kasudine immediately under pressure, and Leicester back on the ball. In fact, it was Alfie May who lost possession. Now here's El Khanous. Sorensen working hard, working back, and Lee Nichols just launches it long. Mavididi. He's tiptoeing with menace, isn't he, Steffi Mavididi? Always looks as if something might happen when he has the ball at his feet, as it so often does with that man as well, Bilal El Khanous, but just not quite on the same wavelength there as Jordan Ayew.
I think Jordan Ayew was just saying to the referee that he was blocked off, but I thought that the pass was far too weighty in respect of the striker going on to it. But once again, you can see both sides wanting to get the winning goal.
Kasumu, again he's surging forward, looks to lift it out to find Sorensen. It gets to him via a deflection. Sorensen looking to take on Thomas. Still going here, Sorensen, but he finds Mavididi in the way. Marty Cifuentes will be delighted with the defensive discipline shown there by Mavididi. El Khanous into Ayew. With Mavididi. Thanks to Soumare. Is there to be a fifth goal in this game? Or are we heading for a penalty shootout? Vass under pressure from Taylor. Uses his body well there, Wout Vass, and Leicester can look to build once more. Mavididi. Almost came back Soumare's way. Some tired legs out there now. But not with Lasse Sorensen, fresh onto the field. Opportunity to play it through, and he's done just that. Huddersfield are in here. Is it another penalty for them? The game goes on. Nelson goes to ground. Crowd not happy. Huddersfield don't retain possession. Touched off by Kasudine. Kasumu might just let fly here. Doesn't catch it cleanly.
Well, there's been a few shouts this evening in respect to the home side. I don't think that's a penalty myself. Yes, there's a little touch in the back. Was it Smith's way? Casey McAteer was the one who was coming back, but I don't think there's enough in that one.
And they've had a few appeals this evening, Huddersfield, and of course they have had one penalty which Jakub Stalazic kept out to deny Dion Charles, but Voss was on hand to put away the rebound. Both teams trying to get this game won inside 90 minutes. El Khanous to Thomas. El Khanous on the turn. Can one of these sides create a goal-scoring opportunity before time is up here as we tick towards now the final minutes of the 90 here. Brought down by Taylor. Can't quite get the better of Nelson. Loose from Wout Vass. Kasumu turns away from Soumare, but just turns into further trouble by way of Lewis Page. There'll be a fair bit of time added on at the end of this second half. We've had a fair few substitutions. 5 from Leicester and 5 as well from Huddersfield.
Yeah, and that's the only reason why you're going to get that extra time. I haven't seen a physio all game.
Game has flown by really quickly in this second half, hasn't it? Hasn't been stop-start. But we are edging closer and closer to this tie being decided from the penalty spot. Sumu again. Plenty of players up in this Huddersfield attack. Plenty of players waiting for a cross to come in here. 6 minutes to be added on at the end of this game. 6 minutes for someone to step forward and be a hero. Castledine, he's going to go for goal here, is he? Well, maybe, just maybe, he was caught in two minds.
Well, he moves into a great position, doesn't he, Leo Castledine? And then he puts a... For me, I think this is an excellent ball. But if you have a look at the two Huddersfield players, very static. Didn't go towards the ball, both in the same area. But even so, you think you've got to be a little bit more proactive inside of that 18-yard box. And who knows, potentially that could have been the winning goal.
Still time for that winning goal to come as Luke Thomas hands it over to El Khanous and says to him, go and create something for us. On the scamper up to the edge of the area, Mavididi clips the ball back across goal. Loose touch here, and it's pushed away by Lee Nichols to deny Lewis Page. Had to get down sharply as Leicester threatened to win this first round tie.
Well, good movement, wasn't it, from Mavididi? Put on a plate from El Khanous, but not a good, great touch, was it, from Rowan? Then it comes out to Lewis Page. Excellent save from Lee Nichols down to his left-hand side.
El Khanous. Disappointing delivery, but he'll get the chance to try again. Nervy moments these for Huddersfield, who fought so hard, so valiantly to get themselves back level twice tonight after falling behind. Well, Khanous isn't going to get another opportunity. Lewis Page has gone over to take instead. Can he come up with something better? Plays it to the back post. The header back across goal, punched away by Nichols. McAteer play is going to be brought back here, and some of the Leicester players asking why play wasn't allowed to continue there as they felt they had themselves in an advantageous position. Sway has his name taken.
You know, I was singing his praises, David Webb, for the amount of times that he allowed the advantage to be played. And yes, it's not a good challenge, but look at the position that Leicester City were in. And the referee goes and blows his whistle, and I can understand why they're slightly irate towards the referee. Good opportunity, great position, and the referee, for me, makes the wrong decision.
Leicester now with a free kick, which is just about on the edge of shooting range. 3 in the wall for Huddersfield as Jordan Ayew, it seems, prepares himself to have a go here. Into a 4th minute of stoppage time we find ourselves here. And Jordan Ayew come up with a moment of magic to send Leicester into round 2. Are they perhaps going to do something a little different here? El Khanous stood alongside him. Leicester sticking 2 players just to the left of that Huddersfield wall, just trying to obscure Lee Nichols and make life as difficult as they can for him. Will be Jordan Ayew, and it's some way wide in the end.
Well, you'd have to say it's a decent strike from Jordan Ayew. There's a reasonable amount of whip on it, but you can see there with Lee Nichols, he knows exactly where his post is. I'm not overly concerned.
Harry Winks under pressure on the edge of his own area. Doesn't prove costly in the end for Leicester. Could have played out much worse indeed. Leicester not hanging around here, trying to get this game won. Trying to prevent the tie being settled by penalties. Mavididi into and then out of the Huddersfield area. Samare can't poke that ball forwards, and the Huddersfield crowd urging their side forward here, but it's only Joe Taylor who's forward, and it's cut out by Ben Nelson. Thomas. Well, Kanous tiptoeing his way forward. He's got Mavididi outside of him, and he finds him now. El Kanous, Bilal El Kanous, shot heavily deflected, and it completely takes the sting out of it.
Yeah, and I think it's a good job that there was a couple little deflections in there. But this is going down to the penalties, isn't it? I can't see it being taken at that end, can you? No fans?
Would be too intimidating, would it?
You need a little bit of atmosphere, don't you?
Of course, the goal to our left is heavily packed out by Leicester City supporters. Stelarczyk goes long. Header won by Sorensen. Sorensen once again to just hoist it into the night sky. Rowan clears it away, and this game is going to be decided, it seems, from the penalty spot. Unless Huddersfield can come up with something quickly, they won't get the chance to do so. It finishes 2-2 after 90 minutes, and we are headed to the spot to decide who will take on Sunderland at the Stadium of Light in round 2. There'll be frustration for Martí Cifuentes, whose Leicester side led twice this evening. But a fabulous goal from Cameron Asher with 14 minutes left to play. Levelled things up at 2-2, which means, David Phillips, we go to a penalty shootout.
Yes, and sometimes I quite like this format where you don't have to go and have an extra 15 minutes each way. But this is the first goal scored by Hamza Chowdhury. It's a phenomenal strike. As I said, that's only his second ever goal that he scored. And it really set the apple cart going in the second half, because it was a great response from Huddersfield Town. Good save from Stelarczyk, and there's Voss. He's the first one to get towards the ball. It's a good header. This time Stelarczyk can't do anything about it. And then Harry Winks, consummate professional that he is, set up from Mavididi. All he's got to do is think about hitting the far side. But then you have to say what a response this is from Cameron Asher. But as I mentioned, if I was Cifuentes, I'd be turning around and say, well, who's closing him down? He's been able to go, what, 25, 30 yards? And that's another excellent strike from the youngster.
Lee Grant just rallying the troops ahead of this penalty shootout. Real spirit shown by this Huddersfield team this evening to come back twice against Championship Leicester City. Both teams trying to win the game inside the 90. The game opened up towards the end. Neither team able to find a third goal. And it's just a case of keeping your composure, and for those charged with the responsibility to step up to the spot, to keep their cool, get the job done. They're becoming more and more a part of the game, aren't they? Penalty shootouts with cup competitions deciding that we don't need extra time. We can just get straight to a shootout. Of course, that only applies to the Carabao Cup. Huddersfield, of course, might just get the chance to take a shootout or two in the Virtue Trophy group stage as well this season. Games go to penalties for a bonus point in that competition in the group stage when things are level after 90 minutes as well. So just the formalities to go through here. Game against Sunderland in round 2, waiting for whoever is victorious from the penalty spot. Movie situation for players. who can handle the pressure better. The performance that we saw from both teams in the 90, though, David, both managers will be happy what they've seen. Made plenty of changes tonight. Huddersfield 9, Leicester 7. Players taking the chance to perhaps get themselves a little deeper into the minds of their managers as we begin this new domestic season.
Absolutely right, and you're exactly right when you think that 9 and 7 respective. And what those players will be saying to his manager is that any time that you need me, I will step up. We know a lot of these players are not in the starting lineups as such, but it'll prove to Marty Cifuentes and Lee Grant that they both have excellent squads, A in the Championship, B in League Division 1. And you'd fancy the way both of these sides and squads are set out, they would have good opportunities of A, getting into the Premier League, and B, getting into the Championship.
So the penalties will be taken at the end, where the Leicester City supporters are here this evening. And we saw plenty of drama from the spot in the Carabao Cup last night, and we get another dose of it here at Aku Stadium, and it's Jordan Ayew, who came on late in proceedings, who's going to take Leicester's first penalty here. Lee Nichols, Jakub Stolazic, a chance to end the night. A hero for Lee Nichols, of course, who's been displaced in the team by Owen Goodman. Chance for him to shine here tonight. Always such intriguing situations, aren't they, here, David? The battle of the minds between the goalkeeper and the penalty taker.
Yeah, and it's going to be one of those as well. Generally, when you look at goalkeepers, they've always got their proverbial water bottle with a host of names and which way they go. Not sure I quite saw any of that between the two goalkeepers of Lee Nichols and Stolazic.
We've also heard stories recently, haven't we, of goalkeepers ridding of that information that the opposition goalkeeper has. So it's Jordan Ayew first up for Leicester. Short run up it will be. Ayew clips it towards goal, and it's kept out by Lee Nichols. Poor penalty from Jordan Ayew. Dare say there didn't seem a great deal of conviction in it. Lee Nichols guessed the right way. Perfect start for Huddersfield.
Yeah, and that's always the thing. You turn around and say, well, is it a poor penalty or is it an excellent decision from the goalkeeper? The goalkeeper has to go the right way to start off with. And when you look at the penalty, there's a bit of pace about it. I wouldn't say it was right in the corner, but even so, Nichols has to take that gamble. He has to make a decision. Goes right, goes left. Does he go high? Does he go low? Or does he stay central? Excellent decision. And Jordan Ayew, with the experience that he has, I think Leicester will be disappointed with that one.
So can Joe Taylor step up here? Off the bench late in the game himself. Again, he begins his run up. Dead behind the ball. Taylor steps up, and it's kept out by Stolazic. Both sides opening penalties saved here this evening.
Again, you have to say to Stolazic, and again, he makes the right decision. It's a good height for the goalkeeper. As I mentioned, both these goalkeepers are 6'4", 6'5" respective. And they have to make the right decision. Otherwise, the ball goes in the opposite way and the keeper dives one way. And you say, well, it's a great penalty. I think the goalkeepers have done really, really well so far in the opening 2 spot kicks.
Respect between the two glovesmen, as well as Steffi Mavididi takes the walk forward. Can he get Leicester City up and running in this penalty shootout? Steffi Mavididi against Lee Nichols. Mavididi steps up and just about tucks it beyond Lee Nichols. Frustration for the keeper and a heart-in-mouth moment perhaps for Mavididi, but he got the job done. Leicester up and running.
Well, once again, the keeper goes the right way. That, for me, isn't a great penalty, and I think he's very fortunate, is Mavididi. However, the ball's in the back of the net. It won't matter to Leicester City or Mavididi. But I thought there Nichols had a golden opportunity, went underneath his body.
Next up, Alfie May. Scored from the spot in Huddersfield's season opener in League One in the victory here against Leyton Orient. Can he hold serve here? He's taking his time, Alfie, mate. Now up he steps, and it's straight down the middle. 1-1 in the shootout.
Good strike, isn't it, from Alfie May? We know that the goal that he scored at the penalty went to the right-hand side. As he looks at it, he'll be absolutely delighted to see that ball in the back of the net. Even Stevens after 4 penalties.
Luke Thomas, third up for Leicester City. Lee Nichols taking his time here. Of course, goalkeepers will do whatever they can to try and distract the taker. Thomas steps up and very coolly puts it into the back of the net.
Yeah, that's an excellent penalty, isn't it, from Luke Thomas? Gives the goalkeeper the eyes as if he's going to go and wrap his foot around the ball. And then with the composure, just slots it nice and easy as the keeper goes to his left, slots it to the other side.
Huddersfield's next taker, Leo Castledine. Look down at the water bottle from Jakub Stolazic. Ball handed to Castledine from his goalkeeper, Lee Nichols. Castledine, and it's a brilliant penalty. Whipped into the corner, out of the reach of Stolazic. 2-2 now in the shootout.
Yeah, excellent penalty. You can see the pace of the ball beats Stolazic this time. Even Stevens as El Khanous comes up.
With every further penalty, the pressure just ratchets up a little. And again, Lee Nichols doing things at his own pace. Making Bilal El Khanous wait here to take Leicester City's 4th penalty. El Khanous starts to curve his run up and he bangs it off the post. How costly could that be? Put plenty on it, but it rattled back off the frame of the goal.
Yeah, it just puts his foot right through the ball. You can see once again Lee Nichols goes the right way. Cannons off the post. Doesn't go into the goal. And now you think that Huddersfield have that advantage.
But is it an advantage they can capitalise on here? Lasse Sorensen with the chance to put Huddersfield 3-2 up in this penalty shootout, and he just about beat Stolazic, who reached out to his left but couldn't quite keep it out. A punch of the fist from Lee Grant.
Yeah, he gets a good hand to it, doesn't he? But it hits the bottom of his hand and bounces into the net. Take advantage, Huddersfield Town. Very important now that Casey McAteer finds the back of the net.
Has to score here. Otherwise, Leicester City are crashing out of the Carabao Cup at the first hurdle. Save one so far, Lee Nichols. He's seen another come back off his left-hand post. Makes a save here. Huddersfield are on their way to take on Premier League Sunderland. McAteer against Nichols. McAteer's denied. Huddersfield are on their way to the Stadium of Light. They prevail in the penalty shootout. A night on which they've had to show so much spirit, fighting back from a goal down on 2 occasions. And Lee Nichols, the toast of his teammates here tonight. A save to deny Casey McAteer. And Lee Grant's side's brilliant start to the season continues as they beat Leicester City here tonight on penalties.
Well, you have to give a lot of credit to Lee Nichols. As you're right to say, 2 saves, one that hits the post, but the important one is the one from McAteer. And they'll be delighted to get through to play Sunderland in the next round. And once again, you have a look at Lee Nichols and asking questions of the manager and saying, well, you've got Goodman in goal at this present time. I'm there if you need me. It's always the difficult one when you're the #2 goalkeeper. And sometimes you'd be thinking, well, if the other player gets out of form, gets injured, then I've got to go and step in. And that's what is so difficult about being the #2. But he has stepped up today and performed very well. But you have to commend Huddersfield Town, as you're right to say, Andy, for coming from a goal down to 2-1 down. Scored a couple of decent goals. A great strike that was from Asher. Good header from Vost. And all round, you'd have to say, after 45 minutes, it wasn't the greatest of games, but certainly came to light when Hamza Chowdhury got that opening goal for Leicester after 54 minutes. But I think these guys, both these sides, will still do really well in their leagues. 2 very good sides.
Huddersfield victorious in the penalty shootout. It was 2-2 after 90 minutes, but Lee Grant's side winners 3-2 on penalties. And for Lee Nichols, a great moment for him. He said just yesterday, I'm employed by this club to help us win games. Well, he's done just that. He was the difference maker tonight, saving from both Jordan Ayew and Casey McAteer in the shootout. Bilal El Khanous also unable to put away his penalty. And the feel-good factor continues to build here at Huddersfield.
Yeah, absolutely right. And a huge game, as you're right to say, playing against Blackpool away at the weekend. But they've started the season off really, really well. 5 goals, not one conceded. And then they come up against a Championship side who beat Sheffield Wednesday on the opening day. And yet, they go behind twice. They didn't buckle. They just continued and continued. And I think that Lee Grant in the changing room will be saying to his players, I'm really proud of you this evening. Not just the 11 who started, but the squad.
As we take a look at the numbers from the game, Leicester having much more of the ball, almost 60% of it. Just shading in terms of the attempts at goal as well, 13-11. This is a competition, of course, which has given Leicester fans some great moments down the years. 3 times winners of the Carabao Cup, but perhaps for Martí Cifuentes now, it's not been the most convincing of starts. Beaten here tonight, and of course, only just got the job done against a much troubled Sheffield Wednesday at the weekend. There'll be some questions for him to answer on this night on which they've been knocked out of the Carabao Cup by a side from a division below them. So let's take a look back at the key moments from the night. And very early on, David, Huddersfield felt they should have had a penalty. Ruben Ruskin going down here under what looked a very clumsy challenge by Ben Nelson.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought there was a stonewall penalty. The referee, for me, gets that one wrong. Ruskin does really well, just chops that ball back, and you can see there straight away that Ben Nelson just upends him. And then here, straight away, Oliver Skipp just gives the ball away inadvertently into Ruskin once again, and you think that he might be hitting the target. It's an